Hey guys! Tonight we find ourselves standing at a nearly deserted train station. The overhead lights flicker like they're debating retirement, a chilly wind wraps around your ankles, and the only company is the occasional screech of pigeons fighting over stale French fries. Your train is late, again, and you're already imagining the email excuse you'll write, something about delays, existential dread, and the meaninglessness of schedules. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your current location and local time. I love seeing where everyone's listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You check the arrivals board again, still blinking delayed. You roll your suitcase back and forth in tiny movements, the wheels clacking rhythmically over the tiles. Somewhere nearby, a vending machine hums like it's rehearsing for an opera, and the soda inside has clearly been there since the fall of the Roman Empire. Speaking of Rome, did you know Roman emperors once used polished silver as mirrors? It's weird to think of someone like Nero inspecting his reflection while planning a fire, isn't it? The wind picks up. You pull your coat tighter. A man across the platform paces slowly, muttering into his phone about someone who never listens and always takes the wrong exit. You can't hear the whole conversation, but the tone says everything. It's a melody of frustration with a beat of regret. Behind you, a janitor sweeps in circles, earbuds in, mouthing the lyrics to a pop song from the early 2000s. You try not to hum along, but your brain betrays you. Earworms are ruthless. You spot a bench and sit. The metal is cold enough to make you wonder if your soul just escaped through your thighs. Your phone is at 11%. You consider saving battery, but let's be real. You're opening a game or doom scrolling in 3, 2, too late. In the corner of your eye, you notice an older woman reading a newspaper. A newspaper. Historians still argue whether print news will ever make a full comeback, or if it'll just exist as hipster wallpaper. Suddenly, an announcement crackles overhead, but it's so garbled you catch maybe 3 words: delay, technical, and what sounds suspiciously like potato. You decide it's best not to ask questions. You stand again and begin to walk slowly down the platform. Each step echoes like you're in a budget noir film. Your reflection in the window glass looks thoughtful, maybe even mysterious, or like someone who accidentally bought decaf again. At the far end of the station, you pass a small coffee kiosk. It's closed, obviously, but taped to the inside window is a comic strip, a chicken holding a sign that says, "Train your patience." You chuckle softly, partly because it's clever, and partly because this is your life now, waiting for trains, reading chicken comics. Somewhere behind you, a pigeon coos loudly. You glance back. It's standing perfectly still on top of the "No Loitering" sign, which feels passively aggressively poetic. The janitor finishes sweeping and leans on his broom. He notices you watching and shrugs. "This platform's seen more breakups than weddings," he says without prompting. You blink. "Evening," he adds, before walking away like he just dropped a Shakespearean soliloquy. And honestly, he's probably right. The average train station has more raw emotion than a therapy convention. Arguments, farewells, long, awkward hugs, the occasional passionate goodbye that somehow blocks everyone else from boarding. All that humanity compressed into 10-minute windows before departure. You sit back down. A couple argues softly behind a pillar, something about in-laws and chicken nuggets. You pretend not to hear, but your brain logs every detail, like it's building characters for a novel. Eventually, you close your eyes. The hum of the vending machine, the distant beep of a scanner, the low murmur of lives being lived, it all becomes one soft, hypnotic blend. You start to drift, not asleep, but not fully here either. In that quiet space, where time slows and thoughts blur, you realize something odd. Even in this moment of delay, you're learning. about language, people, sound, rhythm. It's all practice. Every overheard sentence is a real conversation, and every real conversation is a lesson in living naturally. The door chimes jingle as you step into the cafe. You weren't planning to come here, but the smell of burnt espresso and desperation lured you in like a cartoon character floating toward a pie on a windowsill. You glance around, hoping for an empty table, and then you see them. Sitting 3 feet from the counter, that almost ex, the one you texted, maybe we're better off as friends, the one who responded, lol, yeah, totally, but you both knew that lol was a lie. You freeze. They haven't seen you yet. You consider a dramatic exit. Maybe fake a phone call. Maybe pretend you're here to sell air conditioners. But no, it's too late. Your eyes meet. Hey, they say, with that practiced smile that means, this is awkward and I hate it too. You both laugh, and it sounds like 2 forks clinking on a broken plate. You shuffle forward and order a coffee you don't want. The barista looks at you like you've interrupted her slow descent into ennui. Name, she asks. You give her your real one. What else can you do now? As you wait, your almost ex nods toward the chair across from them. You can sit if you want, they say. You consider fleeing, but this is English listening practice, and you, my brave student, are here to learn. So you sit, and you brace. They sip their coffee. Still doing that thing where you never stir your sugar? You smile. Still doing that thing where you pretend you like oat milk? Boom. 1 for 1. Behind you, someone drops a tray, and the cafe collectively flinches. Conversation resumes like nothing happened. A guy 2 tables over is explaining cryptocurrency to a girl who clearly thought this was a first date. Spoiler, it's also the last. Your coffee arrives. It's lukewarm and bitter. You both laugh at nothing. It's not that funny, but the laugh keeps you from saying something real. Your former almost partner taps the table. So, still into history podcasts and weird trivia? You shrug. Still into watching YouTube at 1.5 speed and pretending you read books? They grin. Touché. That reminds you, touché comes from fencing, literally means touched. Historians still argue whether fencing ever truly reflected actual sword combat or was just Renaissance LARPing for aristocrats. They mention a mutual friend, someone who once locked themselves out while wearing medieval armor for a cosplay shoot. You both giggle at the memory. That day, you had to Google how to unlock a door when your hands are gauntlets. A child cries nearby. Their parent tries calming them by offering a muffin the size of a baseball. The kid sniffs and accepts the peace offering. Your almost ex leans forward. You ever think about that time we went to that concert, the one with the terrible opening band that played like whale sounds? You do. It rained that night, and you shared one umbrella. You got soaked anyway, but you sang every word. And at the time, it felt like the kind of memory people turn into montages in movies. You nod. Yeah, that night was weirdly good. They look down. Weirdly. You both sip. The cafe's playlist changes to a lo-fi cover of a 90s boy band hit. It's the exact kind of thing they used to ironically dance to in the kitchen. You remember swaying next to a microwave, holding a wooden spoon like a microphone. Do you miss it? They ask. You tilt your head. The kitchen dancing, or the part where we both refuse to do dishes? They smile. Both. Someone sneezes behind you, loud, the kind of sneeze that startles nearby birds. A polite chorus of, bless you, follows from half the cafe. It's oddly wholesome. You catch your reflection in the window. You look calm, older, not in a bad way, just in a you've seen things kind of way, like a retired spy or a barista who knows who really broke the espresso machine. Your phone buzzes. Just a reminder to drink water. You ignore it. You're drinking coffee. That counts, sort of. They lean back. I should probably go soon. You nod. You don't ask where, you don't ask why. As they get up, they pause. It was good seeing you. It really was, you say. And for once, you mean it exactly as it sounds. No sarcasm, no subtext, just that. They exit. The door jingles. You watch them disappear into the late afternoon. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the hum of espresso machines, whispered gossip, and lo-fi heartbreak soundtracks,
you realize something. Conversations aren't just for listening. They're time capsules. Emotionally awkward, slightly better, oddly sweet little time capsules.
You're standing in the frozen foods aisle, staring at 27 different kinds of peas. Petite peas, organic peas, peas with pearl onions. Why do they even have so many? You came in for toothpaste, and yet, here you are, caught in a frosty green purgatory. Then, it happens. A voice cuts through the chilly silence like a knife. I can't believe you would say that here, in public. You turn slightly, pretending to examine the back of a bag of edamame. Just 2 steps away, a couple is in full dramatic meltdown mode, right between the frozen carrots and the waffle fries. She's holding a box of toaster strudels like it's a weapon of emotional clarity. He's got that look of someone wishing he could phase through the refrigerated doors and disappear into dairy storage. Your ears perk up, not because you're nosy, okay, maybe a little, but because this is real English, not textbook English, not the pen is on the table English. This is the juicy, raw, unfiltered stuff people actually say when they forget anyone else exists. Maybe if you actually listened for once, she says, voice rising, instead of pretending like you know everything. He scoffs. You're making a scene over frozen breakfast? You glance down at your cart. 1 toothbrush, 1 lonely box of cereal. It suddenly feels like a front-row ticket to a soap opera sponsored by Kellogg's. She storms off toward the dairy aisle. He mutters something under his breath, then sighs and follows. You don't catch it, but it ends with, like your mother. Whoa, bold move. You step away quietly, like a spy retreating after overhearing secret codes. But it sticks with you. The cadence of it, the tone, the stress on scene, the way he elongated breakfast like it was an insult. Historically, the modern grocery store is barely 100 years old. It was Clarence Saunders who opened the first self-service store, Piggly Wiggly, in 1916. Before that, you'd hand a clerk your list and wait. Now, you overhear people emotionally self-destruct next to frozen egg rolls. You keep walking, and your brain replays what you just heard, not to gossip, but because your English learning brain is doing laps. That's how it works. You hear, you mimic, you internalize. You pass the deli counter. The guy behind it is explaining to a little boy why cheese needs to breathe. The kid's mom looks mortified. The kid, on the other hand, looks like he's just learned cheese is alive and must be respected. You slow down near the bread section. 2 teenagers are filming a TikTok. They're trying to get the right take of one girl saying, "I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining why I'm right," while holding a loaf of sourdough. You pretend to tie your shoe just to hear her delivery again. As you stand, a store worker walks by and mutters, "If someone asks me where the almond milk is one more time." You grin. You can feel the vocabulary stacking in your mind, like grocery items in a cart. Each sentence another example of rhythm, tone, emphasis, slang. No flashcards necessary. You finally reach the checkout lane. An older woman in front of you is holding up the line. She insists she has a coupon, but it expired in 2003. The cashier is trying to be patient, but you can see her soul leaving her body. "Ma'am," the cashier says slowly, "this coupon was for Blockbuster. We don't accept it." "Blockbuster still owes me," the woman mutters, unmoved. You quietly admire her conviction. Behind you, a man whispers to his daughter, "This is why we shop online." You're tempted to agree, but without this mess, you wouldn't have heard any of these brilliant, unintentional English lessons today. Historians still argue whether in-person shopping will ever fully vanish. Some say yes, technology will swallow it whole. Others think humans are too wired for sensory experience to give up the smell of fresh bread and the thrill of someone lose it over paper towels. As you bag your items, your completely unneeded cereal and toothbrush, you feel a strange sense of accomplishment.
You didn't just shop. You listened, you absorbed, you survived emotional crossfire and coupon wars, and you understood every moment. And let's face it, you'll never look at peas the same way again.
The rain starts before you even make it to the end of your street. Just a few hesitant drops at first, like the sky is testing the waters, no pun intended. Then, full commitment, a downpour, torrential, biblical, and you, as always, forgot your umbrella. You duck under a storefront awning, slightly out of breath and fully drenched. Water trickles down your back in that oh-so-specific way that makes you question every life decision leading to this moment. But then something happens. You hear it. A conversation. Two strangers sharing the same awning, maybe a meter away. One has a bright green raincoat. The other is holding a wet paper bag that's rapidly becoming papier-mâché. They're not talking loudly, but in the quiet of the rain, every word is oddly sharp. I told her, Raincoat says, you can't just manifest your dream job by burning sage and yelling at LinkedIn. The other chuckles, brushing soggy bangs out of their eyes. She's all about energy flow now. Last week, she smudged her boyfriend. Like, spiritually? No, with actual smoke. You stifle a laugh. You shift slightly to stay in earshot while pretending to scroll on your phone. But let's be honest, you're 100% listening. This right here is the kind of conversation that teaches you real-life English, not grammar exercises, not clunky dialogues about ordering orange juice, just two people talking about ridiculous modern problems under a leaky awning. The rain softens. Someone across the street yells into their phone about a package that was absolutely not delivered. A cyclist zooms past, spraying everyone in a 2-meter radius. You feel seen. And damp. You remember that in ancient Egypt, people actually worshipped rain deities. For a desert culture, rain was sacred. They even believed the Nile's flooding was a gift from the gods. Meanwhile, you're here debating whether your socks are waterproof. They're not. Raincoat leans their head back and groans. I was supposed to have a second date today. I picked a park. I thought I was being cute. Soggy Bag snorts. Smooth move, weather wizard. They both laugh, and you find yourself smiling too. It's infectious, natural, like the rhythm of their exchange is choreographed with effort. No one's trying to be impressive, it just flows. And here's the thing, historians still argue whether small talk evolved as a survival tool. Some think it helped early humans build trust in social groups. Others think it's just filler noise to prevent awkward silence while we hunted mammoths. Either way, here you are, learning English not by studying, but by soaking in the cadence of real people in real weather with real soggy problems. A bus stops nearby, hissing and groaning like a dragon with arthritis. Passengers tumble out holding grocery bags over their heads like shields. One woman yells, I told you to bring the umbrella at what you assume is her husband, who responds with the ancient marital defense. You didn't remind me. Classic. Raincoat checks their phone. Guess I'll cancel. Can't picnic in a swamp. Soggy Bag shrugs. Or make it a story. Go to the park anyway. Laugh about how ridiculous it is. Get soaked. Be legends. A pause. Then Raincoat grins. You know what? Maybe I will. They toss their hood up and dart into the storm like a caffeine-fueled squirrel. You watch them go, a blur of neon and ambition. Soggy Bag glances at you, half smiling. Some people really live for the drama, huh? You nod. Guess so. They nod back and head off in the opposite direction, leaving you alone with the rain, the sidewalk puddles, and your quietly buzzing phone, which, let's be honest, you're still not checking. You step out from under the awning. The rain hits your face like applause, and it's weirdly refreshing, almost cinematic, like you're starring in a montage called Learns English, Accidentally Gains Life Insight. Each raindrop feels like punctuation, soft commas on your skin, the city sounds blur under the patter, and you walk on, wet, grinning, and a little wiser than when you left the house. You push open the heavy glass door of the City Museum. It wheezes like an old man standing up from a nap. Inside, the air is still and cool, conditioned not just for visitors, but for the delicate egos of ancient artifacts. A sign near the front desk reads, "Admission free today, donations welcome," which is code for, "Please feel guilty." You wander past a family taking selfies with a stuffed woolly mammoth. The teenage son mutters, "It's just a hairy elephant," and you quietly file that away under things you wish you could unhear. The halls are quiet. Your footsteps echo like you're a character in a mystery novel who's about to discover a secret passage behind a painting. You pass through the Mesopotamian exhibit, where a tour guide is explaining cuneiform to a group of bored middle schoolers. Cuneiform, she says cheerily, was one of the first systems of writing. Imagine trying to text someone using a stylus and a wet clay tablet. One kid raises his hand. "What's a stylus?" You smile, not at the kid, but at the moment, the collision of past and present, right there next to a cracked statue missing half its nose. You find yourself drawn to the ancient pottery section, mostly because it's completely empty. No crowds, no tour guides, just shelves of handmade bowls and jars sitting quietly under yellowish lights. And each one seems to be whispering something in a language no one speaks anymore. You pick a bench and sit down. Across the room, a young couple argues quietly over whether a particular jug was used for water or wine. You can't hear every word, but their tone tells you everything. He's guessing, she knows. It's not about the jug. She points to a placard. It literally says olive oil vessel. He shrugs. Well, olives are basically wine. You stifle a laugh. It's like watching a slow-motion debate where both parties are charmingly wrong. Did you know ancient Greeks used amphorae not just for storage, but also as trophies? Winners of the Panathenaic Games were awarded giant amphorae full of olive oil. Imagine winning a marathon and getting 40 liters of slippery salad dressing. Historians still argue whether the handles on some amphorae were purely decorative or actually useful. Some say form followed function. Others think ancient artisans just had really dramatic design choices. A small child walks by and shouts, "This jar looks like my dad's tummy." His mother hushes him, mortified. The jar, to its credit, remains stoic. You get up and wander deeper into the museum, past an exhibit on medieval torture devices. A sign warns, "Disturbing content." You peek anyway, because humans are strange like that. There's a spiked chair, a thumbscrew, a wooden contraption called the Pair of Anguish, which sounds more like a rejected indie band than an actual tool of torment. Two college students whisper behind you. "They actually used this stuff?" one asks. The other replies, "Allegedly, but you know how history is. Some of it's probably just fear propaganda." And there it is, that lovely phrase, "Historians still argue," because they do. Whether torture was as widespread as textbooks claim, whether the Inquisition was driven by religion, politics, or just really bored sadists, the truth lies somewhere in the middle and probably smells like damp wood and regret. You move on. The museum empties out as closing time nears. You find yourself back near the gift shop, staring at a rack of souvenir pencils shaped like Egyptian sarcophagi. They're hilarious, utterly useless for actual writing, but wildly dedicated to the bit. You overhear a girl begging her parent for a toy mummy. "It's educational," she pleads. "He died for knowledge." You blank. That's kind of poetic. Back outside, the sunlight is warm again. You squint, momentarily blinded by the real world after an afternoon in the past. The sounds are louder out here. Cars, laughter, a busker singing off key. But you notice something else. Your ears are tuned differently now. Like spending time among whispered tour guides and echoey gallery halls has sharpened your focus. You understand more, you hear more. Intonation, humor, subtext, even mispronunciations. And not because you studied, but because you were present, observing, immersed.
And you leave the museum not just with a weird pencil and some trivia about olive oil trophies, but with better English too.
The bus arrives with a growl and a sigh, like it's already tired of today's nonsense. You step on, tap your card, and immediately spot the last empty seat. Jackpot! You slide into it, earbuds in, but let's be real, you're not playing anything yet. You're listening, always listening. In front of you sit two coworkers mid-conversation. One's in a blazer that screams middle management, and the other's got the glazed look of someone who once cared deeply and has since evolved past earthly concerns. "I'm just saying," Blazer begins, "if we move the 3 p.m. sync to 2:45, we can circle back before the client call." Other guy blinks slowly. Or we don't circle back at all. Office English, a language of its own, full of terms that sound like combat maneuvers but mean absolutely nothing. Sync, ping, loop in, low-hanging fruit. Words that once had meaning, now stripped bare by quarterly reports and motivational posters. Behind you, a kid explains to her mom why dinosaurs would lose in a fight against Optimus Prime. Her reasoning is detailed, passionate. The mom nods like she's at a United Nations peace summit. "Dinosaurs have no lasers," the girl insists. "They can't even punch." Hard to argue with that. The bus jerks forward. You glance around. Everyone's in their own bubble. Headphones, books, phones. A woman sketching in a notebook. A man rubbing his temples like he's trying to beam himself elsewhere. And yet, these conversations float in the air, light, human, unfiltered. The guy across from you sneezes violently, the kind of sneeze that feels like it should require a seatbelt. His seatmate jumps and mutters, "Bless you," and the next 3 people who felt that. You smile. There's rhythm in this chaos, language in motion, English, not from a textbook, but alive and weird and funny. Historically, public transport has always been a place of eavesdropping and drama. In Victorian London, people passed love notes on the backs of train tickets. In 1960s New York, buses were mobile soapboxes for every kind of opinion imaginable. Historians still argue whether transit gossip shaped urban culture more than newspapers did, one whispered scandal at a time. The bus slows for a red light. You watch a group of high schoolers crowd at the next stop, laughing in a way that only people with 0 bills can. One kid pulls out a harmonica. Another yells, "No, not again!" But it's too late. A note escapes, loud, wobbly, utterly sincere. The entire bus pauses like a sitcom just broke the fourth wall. "Sorry," the harmonica kid mutters, not sorry at all. The light turns green. The driver mutters something about jazz night and pulls away. You glance out the window. Raindrops beat up and race each other down the glass. A man on the sidewalk is talking into a Bluetooth earpiece, loudly. "No, Barry, I specifically said without the glitter." You don't know Barry, but you want to. The bus makes a sharp turn. Your shoulder presses briefly against the person next to you. You both apologize simultaneously, then smile awkwardly and look away. Classic bus etiquette. Acknowledge humanity, but only for 0.5 seconds. The 2 coworkers in front of you are still at it. "We could gamify the pipeline," Blazer says, like he's cracked the code of the universe. Other guy just blinks. Or we could just do the work. You admire the guy's minimalist approach to life. Soon, your stop approaches. The bus slows, and everyone does that same little shuffle, collecting bags, shifting weight, bracing for movement like soldiers preparing for a synchronized ballet of dismount. You step off. The doors hiss shut behind you. And as the bus pulls away, you realize something. You didn't just ride a bus. You rode through layers of language, accents, jokes, arguments, sneeze drama, and harmonica solos. It was a crash course in humanity, with seatbelts. And every overheard word, every subtle tone shift, all of it sank in, brick by brick, into your mental library of English.
the kind you don't get from memorizing verbs, but from living language in its natural habitat.
The laundromat smells like detergent, metal, and vague disappointment. You're here because your washing machine decided to retire mid-cycle, and now your clothes are holding a protest in a garbage bag. It's fine, character building. You slide open the glass door and step inside, jingling like a human-sized dryer sheet. There's a hum in the air, a blend of spinning drums, quarters clinking, and the soft, low murmur of strangers pretending not to eavesdrop on each other. You load your clothes, feed the machine like a grumpy slot machine, and take a seat near the dryers. Next to you, a teenage boy sits slumped, staring into the void of his hoodie. A few seats down, an elderly man meticulously folds socks with the precision of a bomb technician. Somehow, the two strike up a conversation. "You in school?" the old man asks. "Yeah," the kid replies, monotone. "Sucks." The man nods. "So did the Cold War. We both survived." The kid blinks. "Wait, what was that like about Alaska?" "No," the man says slowly, like he's trying to turn down the volume on his judgment. "It was... never mind. What school got you down?" The kid shrugs. "Group projects." "Ah," the man smiles. "The first taste of betrayal." You try not to laugh. The exchange is too pure, too oddly perfect, like a buddy comedy unfolding near the fabric softener vending machine. The man starts talking about how he once skipped a midterm to attend a Beatles concert, and you find yourself listening closely, not because you're nosy, but because his rhythm, vocabulary, and vivid metaphors are basically a TED Talk in disguise. He gestures toward the spinning dryers. "You know, life's like that, round and round. You just hope you come out dry." The teenager snorts. "That's deep. Did you read that on Tumblr?" "Tumblr?" the man says, eyebrows raised. "I don't even like mushrooms." You nearly snort. That's joke number 1. The boy checks his phone. "I got a C on my essay, said it lacked structure." "Did you turn it in on a napkin?" the man deadpans. The boy shrugs. "Google Docs." "Digital napkin," the man mutters. This is real conversation, not polished, not perfect, but so full of flavor. This is what you came for. In ancient times, public baths served a similar purpose. Roman thermae were places to clean yourself and casually discuss politics, sports, or philosophy while naked. So really, a laundromat is just the modern clothed version. Historians still argue whether Roman baths were more about hygiene or social bonding, but in both cases, people came out cleaner and with better gossip. Back at the laundromat, your washer thumps unevenly. One of your socks is clearly waging war inside. You glance around and spot a sign, "Lost socks found here." It's pinned to a corkboard under a photo of a man holding 2 left shoes and looking betrayed. Another woman walks in, pushing a cart of towels and humming a 90s R&B tune. She sets up shop like she owns the place. Snacks, crossword book, portable speaker. Queen of the suds. "You're in my folding spot," she tells the old man. He bows dramatically. "Forgive me, your majesty." "Watch it or I'll start your slacks." You realize something. The laundromat has its own ecosystem. Regulars, rules, a language spoken through detergent brands, dryer settings, and passive-aggressive stares over fabric softener. You check your timer. 10 minutes to go. You listen harder. The teenager is now ranting about prom drama. The man listens like a therapist with a secret past. "So she said she liked me, but then posted a TikTok with someone else. Was he taller?" "Yes." "Then it was always doomed." You chuckle. That's joke number 2. Eventually, the spin cycle ends. The machine beeps with the enthusiasm of a microwave announcing the death of a frozen burrito. You haul your damp laundry into the dryer. A woman nearby says, "Careful, that one runs hot. Fried my yoga pants last week." You nod like she's just handed you classified intel. The machines start up again, spinning your clothes and spinning your thoughts. This place, with its buzz and banter, is more than a pit stop. It's a listening lab, a dialogue dojo. You sit back, warm air, low rumble, background jazz from someone's phone. And just before you doze off, you hear the teenager say, "Maybe I'll rewrite the essay."
Call it my life in the spin cycle. That's actually pretty good, the man says, surprised. Joke number 3. And just like that, your language muscles flex without trying. No flashcards, no grammar charts. Just you, a dryer, and a free-flowing seminar on how people really talk.